going on, everybody, on this Monday, July 28th, 2025? My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Land. We got a huge show today. 2 hours of me. You get 2 hours of Kevin today. I know that's a lot of Kevin, but it's going to be a hell of a show. Later on in the show, going to be joined by a couple of friends talking about some fun stuff. Ali Leger is going to join the show, and Kelsey McSorley from Turning Point USA is going to join the show and talk about the crisis of millennials, particularly the crisis of millennial men. But we've got big news coming throughout the day today. President Trump signs a major European Union deal. This is huge. So huge that every network is admitting this is a win for the United States. As the weekend of winning continues with President Trump stopping wars in Cambodia and Thailand over the back nine at his course in Scotland as Democrats hit a new low. Look, a lot of people are upset with Republicans right now, and people have reason to be. People absolutely have reason to be. But it turns out that even though people are mad at Republicans, Democrats suck. Democrats suck even more. Also, the DOJ makes a huge bust. The Chicago Tribune admits that illegals are getting health care, despite the fact that Richie Torres lying to everybody. I'm going to show you scenes from the big walkaway rally we had in Union Square, Herald Square. Where the hell was I? In New York City with Brandon Schrock. That was absolutely awesome. My speech, which I think was very good, was interrupted by New York's most famous street performer. She then took all of her clothes off. I had to see it, so you all have to see it too. And at the end of the show today, we're going to talk about Sydney the Smoke Show Sweeney, who committed a violent offense against American leftists. She had the temerity to be hot and sell a product at the same time. Big no-no for the radical left. We're going to make fun of them because there's been a slew of videos criticizing Sydney Sweeney, and if you guys don't know who she is, you should, because she's how you doing? And she's getting criticized by some people who very much are not. Before we get started today, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video all over the place. That's right. You get 2 hours of me today. I hope you all are ready for it. I hope you're strapped in. It was in Union Square. Yeah. You know what's funny about that is when I put it in my GPS, when I went there, I wrote in Herald Square, and I got there, and there was nobody there. But it was good. Yes, I heard that everyone had a good time at the Ark. I saw the photos. Hell of a job. Everybody got to be there. I saw a photo of Hannah Faulkner and Brennan. They were with Sean, so it was two of my favorite people in the world, and Sean Farish. That was a good time. I wish I could have been there, guys. I had prior commitments, but everybody seemed to have a good time. What's up, Conservative Autumn? Steph, how are you? I want to welcome in all the new viewers who have come to us from that event at the Ark. We got like 250,000 views. That was absolutely awesome. So shout out to everybody who was there. Great job on the team. Doing a hell of a job out there. As I said, I'm sorry I got to miss some of you guys, but work never stops. Also, once again, from quick updates around here, I will be in Nashville at the New York Young Republican Conference in 2 days, July 30th through the 2nd. So if you're in the Nashville area, let me know. Reach out. I'd love to meet up with you. And I'd love to say hello because I didn't get to at the Ark. And that was troubling for me. That was very troubling. But let's dive right on in because we have got some news. A weekend of winning that has culminated in President Trump going to the European Commission, our allies, or as some would call it, our sugar babies. That's just how I would describe it. Donald Trump has announced a huge, historic trade deal with the EU, with Europe planning on buying $750 billion worth of American energy. We're going to get to all the details of this in a second, but the liquefied natural gas, you're going to hear a lot about that. Some people have absolutely no idea what the hell that is. America has more liquefied natural gas than Saudi Arabia has oil. making America one of the biggest producers in the world. And the European Union has made a commitment to purchase this liquefied natural gas from the United States. This is big stuff, guys. And look, I want to be clear. There is nothing less sexy than talking about the exportation of fuel. But in the areas, particularly in areas like the Rust Belt, Appalachia, up in the Catskills, that entire area right there, which has been decimated by outsourcing, absolutely decimated, this is a huge, huge, huge deal. President Donald Trump announced a sweeping trade agreement with the European Union on Sunday, setting a baseline for 15% tariffs on European imports, including automobiles, while keeping existing 50% duties on steel and aluminum in place. As part of the deal, the EU has committed to purchasing $750 billion from the United States in energy. The EU will purchase $750 billion of U.S. energy while also investing $600 billion into America on top of their existing investment. Additionally, European countries will be setting tariff levels on U.S. goods at how much? Zero. And Europe has agreed to purchase a vast amount of military equipment. Here was President Trump announcing the deal.
So we're going to do the following. The European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. You know what that amount of money is. It's very substantial, but they're going to invest an additional $600 billion. They're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff. So that's a very big factor. Opening up their countries, all of the countries will be opened up to trade with the United States at zero tariff. And they're agreeing to purchase a vast amount of military equipment. We don't know what that number is, but it's the good news is we make the best military equipment in the world, so sort of you have to do that. I mean, until somebody tops us, which is not going to happen. We're way ahead of every other country in terms of the quality of the military equipment. You saw that recently in Iran, and you see that, unfortunately, you see that often for all the wrong reasons, right? So those things are $750 billion, $600 billion, opening up the country. We are agreeing that the tariff straight across for automobiles and everything else will be a straight across tariff of 15%. So we have a tariff of 15%. We have the opening up of all of the European countries, which I think I could say were essentially closed. I mean, you weren't exactly taking our autos, you weren't exactly taking our agriculture, and then you would have smaller things, but for the most part it was closed. And now it's open. It's open for our companies to go in and do a good job with it. I think you'll like them. I think you'll like it. And we will, very importantly, they'll be investing a lot of money, but the military is a big number, but that's one number we're not determining. It's going to be whatever it is, but they're going to be purchasing hundreds of billions of dollars worth of military equipment. They're very important. They're going to purchase $750 billion worth of energy. So that's going to be great. And $600 billion worth of investments into the United States over and above what they have. So, and I think that basically concludes the deal. I mean, those are the main factors. I don't think there are too many other factors, other than we're going to get along great. And we have a great relationship now with NATO, which is largely the same. I mean, not exactly, but pretty close, right? Largely. And with NATO, as you know, they're going up to 5% from 2%. And the relationship is very strong with NATO. So I just want to congratulate you. I think it's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games and maybe not making a deal at all. I think it's. I'm going to let you say, but I think it's the biggest deal ever made. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Now, he went over a lot there. So let's break it all down. Number one, automobiles. If you watch this show, you already knew that this was the goal because I'm right about everything. The goal was to export automobiles to Europe. As I've said on this show numerous times, if you look at a photograph of Berlin, you do not see many Fords. Why? Because over the course of the last several years, countries in Europe have implemented tariffs on our automobiles. And because of that, it makes Ford and GM products and makes all of the American car companies incredibly less competitive in European markets. Now, tariffs on European cars. Go outside right now. I'm sure many of you will see Audi and BMW and Mercedes. They'll see Fiat. If you live in a nice area, you might see an Aston Martin or a Jaguar. But if you go to London, you are not going to see Ford Fiestas. You are not going to see Chevy Cavaliers. You are not going to see American-made cars because of the tariffs that Europe had, keyword there, had on American vehicles. This is going to be a huge boom for the auto industry. Particularly for the EV industry. Why for the EV industry? Well, the European Commission, the European Union, has incredibly high standards, and they push electric vehicles in a very serious way over there. You've seen Tesla stock boom up 4 points just since this deal was negotiated today. Because they know that now American-made cars in American-made markets, American-made cars in American-made markets will not be receiving the tariff on the other side of the world. Number two, DOS. Liquefied natural gas. What does that do? Well, now the largest energy-using countries in Europe, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, the big ones, no longer have to rely on Russian natural gas. You see, President Trump understands that if you want to hurt a country, you don't do it on a battlefield. This isn't 1780. You do it in their pocketbooks. And with Europe and NATO relying significantly less on Russia for their liquefied natural gas, getting it from us, it hurts their economy and it helps ours. This is a gigantic trade deal for the United States. So much so that every single network, all of them, were forced to come out and say, yeah, this is a pretty good deal. Here was CNN.
Start.
And there is this $750 billion investment in U.S. energy that's part of this. Is that part of Europe's plan to wean itself away from Russian energy?
Well, when I served as ambassador, we were trying desperately to get Europe to abandon Nord Stream 2 and buy energy from us. And, back then they were hooked on cheap Russian gas. They didn't think that Russia posed a threat to Europe. Look how a few years have changed things. So now they don't want to buy from Russia. They want to buy from the U.S. This is something that is tailor-made for this kind of a deal. And I think very soon you're going to see what's, was known as a transatlantic highway of LNG tankers going across the Atlantic to Portugal or to other ports and depositing, large amounts of LNG. And we will become the dominant supplier to Europe, which is in Europe's benefit and it's in our benefit. And it really, really screws Russia, which is exactly the goal.
And just more broadly, before I let you go, just zooming out just a little bit in terms of the relationship between the U.S. and the EU and Europe. Look, when President Trump came into office, there were a lot of questions. He'd slammed NATO. He'd said maybe he was going to get out. Since then, we've seen he came back and said he'd had his mind changed on NATO when he went to the meeting. Now we see, obviously, this deal with the EU. How would you categorize the U.S. relationship with Europe right now?
It's excellent. There's a lot of crocodile tears for the cameras, but at the end of the day, the EU knew they had to do something like this. They realized that now President Trump has the mandate to push it. He did not have the mandate in his first term because he was fighting a lot of impeachments and other things that didn't give him the power to do what he's done now. So I think all the whining and complaining is for public consumption, but at the end of the day, we're very close to the EU. We do a lot of things together, both public and classified. And, this is whatever, sore feelings there are over this negotiation or a small bump in the road, and now we can move forward. I think this is a tremendous day for the United States, and I have to credit President Trump.
Also, lastly, before I let you go, we look ahead to tomorrow. U.S. and Chinese officials set to meet in Stockholm.
That had to hurt. Boy, that had to hurt to air on CNN. But look, was it just C-Mug? All right, guys, I found one guy on one network that was willing to come out and praise President Trump for the deal. That's not indicative of the entire media landscape. Oh, wait, here's MSNBC.
U.S. take any hits with this deal? And what does it say, this outcome say about the president's ability to negotiate?
It's incredibly favorable for the United States. When you look at this, it's been very one-sided. I mean, the U.S. has been making the demands, and these other countries have had to kind of contort and comport themselves to them. So they emerge fine here. But what's going to change is over the next weeks and months, as countries and trading partners like the EU look at this episode and think, can we trust this relationship with the U.S.? Can it continue? I think even looking at this deal, framework of which we don't have a ton of details. If that somehow goes south or changes, what's a trading partner like the EU to do? So we see them broaching new relationships with their other trading partners, looking for other opportunities. And I think that's going to be kind of the message here going forward. What's the legacy of these talks, of these threats going to be? And how are other countries going to kind of look at trade going forward? How are they going to change their tack now after all of this?
China is still a big question mark, and we know there are talks happening today, right, in Stockholm. Where do things stand there?
So we heard from the president.
Now it comes down to, look, we hurt Russia. Now it's time to hurt China. And it is time for the American manufacturing sector to boom like we've never seen, like we haven't seen in a very, very long time. President Trump was able to do this in between golf rounds because it turns out applying just a little bit of pressure makes people do exactly what you want them to do. Is this what you voted for? I know it's certainly what I voted for, but look, it's cable news. It's CNN, it's MSNBC, daytime. Nobody watches that. Nobody watches that. Come on, Kev, what are you talking about here? Nobody watches that crap. During the day, if you're at home and you're watching TV, you're watching The Price is Right. You're watching Good Morning America. You're watching the Today Show with whatever the hell's happening in Hollywood. I still don't know why people care about that, but whatever. It's not like CBS broke in to their daytime programming to announce how good this trade deal was. It's not like that happened.
A major victory for President Trump that averts a painful trade war between the United States and the European Union. The two trading partners exchange $2 trillion in goods every year. CBS's Weijia Jiang is in Edinburgh, Scotland, traveling with the president. Weijia.
Good evening, Jerika. Heading into trade talks, President Trump set expectations for getting a deal done with the European Union, putting the chances at 50-50. And then after a meeting that lasted just over 1 hour, Trump announced they had reached an agreement.
We have good news. We've reached a deal.
President Trump announced the news from his luxury golf resort in Turnberry, where he hosted the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
I think this deal will bring us very close together, actually. It's a partnership in a sense.
It's a huge deal. It will bring stability. It will bring predictability. That's very important for our businesses on both sides of the Atlantic.
The two leaders
So
set the
it's not
tariff
like-
rate for imports from the
It's not like they broke into their daytime coverage for that. Which means everyone at home saw it. Everybody at home saw it. That it turns out threat of tariff, threat of doing something in terms of trade is almost as good as implementing them themselves, because they knew that they were on a deadline. They knew that it was coming time, and they didn't want to hurt their own businesses. But Kev, look, you know, it's the news. Nobody watches that. Everybody's online now. That's why you're here, because you have turned that off. Except when I'm on OAN, then you should be watching. Then it's okay to watch cable news. But what about the rest of the sphere? What about, I don't know. The first Democrat who always seems to be the one to come around the mountain first. What about him? What does he say?
I remember along with probably most people, was saying at the beginning, oh, you know, by the 4th of July, somebody had to think how the country was, the economy was going to be tanked by then. And I was kind of like, well, that seems right to me. But that didn't happen. Now, it could happen tomorrow. I'm just saying that's reality. So let's work first from the reality of that, not from I just hate Donald Trump. Because that's boring and doesn't get us anywhere and leads you to dishonesty. Because the truth is, I don't know what his strategy is. But look, the stock market is at record highs. I know not everybody lives by the stock market, but I also drive around. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people out there just living their lives. And I would have thought, and I got to own it, that these tariffs were going to fucking sink this economy by this time, and they didn't. So, you know, how do we deal with that fact? Because that's the fact.
Yeah. That's the fact. Oh boy. Congratulations, Democrats. Your messaging on the economy is so bad that you have lost Bill Maher. You have lost Bill Maher. And look, say what you will about Bill, like Bill, don't like Bill, stopped watching him years ago. I don't really care. He is always, and if you're being honest, I'm talking to you. If we're being honest, Bill Maher has always been the first Democrat to come around the mountain on particular issues. He was on point with radical Islamic terrorism. He was on point with the excessiveness of the woke culture. Bill Maher's always been the first one to come around the mountain. So who will be next? Who will be next? We'll get to who might be next in a little bit, because Democrats, they're in a wee bit of trouble. They're in a wee bit of trouble. Before we get to that, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. Look, guys, setting up trillion-dollar trade deals with Europe can be complicated. But you know what's not? Changing your bank over to people who actually support your values, guys. So head on over to oldglorybank.com and lock in some of those interest rates before Jerome Powell wises up. before Jerome Powell wises up and lowers the rates. Guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. R. Lacosto. Jeremy showed clips of Bannon being interviewed. Does anyone know who interviewed him? It was PBS. You can find it on YouTube. It was PBS. Here I am answering your questions in real time because I'm awesome. Guys, oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. So amidst all of this, what are Democrats doing? I don't know. Seems to me that all Democrats are doing is just yelling about Jeffrey Epstein. Yelling about Epstein. Hey, release the files. Don't release the files. Trump's in the files. This, that, and the third. And it turns out the American people can see right through it. Now, with that being said, should we release the files? Yes, we should release the files. But people are seeing this for the Democratic stunt that it is, that they actually don't care what's in it or who gets named or what happens. They don't care at all. All they care about is this is a way to hit Trump. Therefore, we can hit him on it.
Democrats, I mean, they are certainly jumping on the political bandwagon on this, but the anger, I don't know that the anger is on the Democratic side, even in light of that. The anger is very clearly on the conservative side.
It is absolutely on the conservative side. Look, this, in my mind, for Democrats, it seems to be largely a political play, right?
But low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging fruit.
It's just an easy thing.
An easy thing. But they finally have an issue that seems to unite their party, which has been very much divided to historic levels since the election, and one that actually divides Republicans who have been historically united since the election. So, of course, as a political play, Democrats are going to make it. But whether or not their heart is truly in it, let's just say I'm a little suspicious.
Well, some of that, I have to say, it could very well be. Again, the weird thing about the Epstein files is that I really think there are some very legitimate reasons not to release them. Mm-hmm. Very legitimate. It's just that I think it's very suspicious to a lot of people why all the people who wanted them released suddenly changed their tune once they've had a chance to look in them. Well, and that's the part that I think has raised the spidey sense of a lot of people who didn't previously care that much about this issue. And I think
all right, here I am over here, not really sure how I ended up agreeing with Abby Phillip, but that is a spot-on analysis, I would say. I'm not really sure why Jemele Hill is still on TV, but that's not really the point. You know, I believe I could do a whole... Turns out we found the most racist person at CNN, and then the most racist person at ESPN booted her out and then threw her on CNN. Oh, what the hell. But it turns out people know. People instinctively know that Democrats stand for nothing. And I'm sorry, if you look, and we're going to talk about this second half of the show tonight, about Mr. Zohran Mamdani. But you cannot be a political party whose sole reason for existence is Trump bad. You have to, and this is what someone like Zohran has actually tapped into, you have to be for something. You can't just be anti-everything. And because of that, we've seen Democrats hit an all-time low.
Dems, and let's look at their net favorable ratings. Whoa. Woof. I mean, my God. You know, we mentioned CNN. We had that poll come out a little while ago on their net favorable rating. They were 26 points underwater. You think that's low enough? How about we go even lower? We'll go to this side of the screen. I'm going to walk over here. We go to the Wall Street Journal. Minus 30 points. 30 points underwater. Their lowest on record. These polls have records going all the way back since the early 1990s. And when it comes to the Democratic Party's net favorable rating in both the Wall Street Journal poll and the CNN poll, the Democratic Party is breaking records in the way, Jessica Dean, you don't want to break records.
Yeah.
Yep, breaking records left and right as Democrats continue to hit an all-time low, with some polling find that Democrats' favorability hits a 35-year low as the GOP has gained trust on key issues. Harry Enton spoke about that Wall Street Journal poll. We're going to break it down right now as the Democratic Party's image has fallen to its lowest level since 1990. According to a new Wall Street Journal poll, the Democratic Party hits a 35-year low with American voters, showing 63% view the party unfavorably, the worst rating since 1990, and just 8% hold a very favorable view of the Democrat. 8%? I think cancer has a higher approval rating than the Democrats right now. The findings reflect a party increasingly seen as out of step with the voters, with Republicans now preferred on almost every issue. The poll indicates that voters trust Republicans over Democrats to handle nearly every key issue, including inflation, tariffs, foreign policy, immigration, where Republicans hold a 24-point advantage. Holy crap! A 24-point advantage. Even among voters who disapprove of Trump's approach on certain policies, the GOP is still favored to lead. For example, voters disapprove of Trump's handling of inflation by 11 points, but they trust Republicans over Democrats by 10 points. So even if you disagree with Trump on something, you still think that the Republicans are going to do a better job of it, which gets to the clip that I played of Bill Maher. If you just start out with, if Trump is doing it, it is bad, it gets you to a point of lying. It gets you to a very, very, very bad place. And people are now starting to notice that Democrats seem to be for nothing. They just seem to be against everything. They have no messaging. They stand for nothing. They stand for nothing except anti-Trump. And you can't run a party like that. You can't run a party like that, particularly when we have dealt with an entire weekend of winning. A huge weekend of winning. As President Trump scored major victories, this from Breitbart, on trade and the advancement of peace over the weekend, furthering the testament of his commitment to the MAGA agenda that he promised the American people. In the middle of a round of golf, this is a real thing, President Trump said, quote, "I spoke with the Prime Minister of Cambodia relative to stopping the war in Thailand." Trump requested a ceasefire and an end to the war. We happen to be, by coincidence, currently dealing with trade with both countries, but do not want to make any deal with either country if they are fighting. And I have told them so. Trump, the deal maker in chief, added, using the America First position as one to advance global peace. The call with Thailand was made, and the call with Thailand is being made momentarily, and the call with Cambodia just ended, but expecting a call back regarding the war stoppage and a ceasefire. Many people have been killed, but it reminds me of the conflict between India and Pakistan, which was brought to a successful halt. Indeed, in May, merely months into his term, Trump played a key role in de-escalating the situation between India and Pakistan. Don't worry, it's not like they have, a historic reason to want to kill each other. At which point, the government of Pakistan, I can't believe I'm saying this, go government of Pakistan, nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, which, if he wins, which he should win, if he does win, I think that might cause some people to actually spontaneously combust. They might actually self-immolate. And not pour gasoline on themselves. I just mean get so hot that they end up actually burning themselves alive. Which, whatever. It happens. But it turns out TDS is real. And there are still people online trying to pretend that this trade deal between the European Union, the halting of war in between Cambodia and Thailand. Trump even came out and talked about Israel today. The verboten subject. The one that I got yelled at last week for even broaching. Guys, I can support people with, I can support a country and also think that you can't kill everyone. You can't kill everybody. But let's be honest, we could do a whole damn show on that. A whole damn show on that. A continued weekend of winning for President Trump. In addition to leveraging the America First policy, he is also slated, and we spoke about that earlier, to meet with the European Union leaders. And what's interesting about the European Union is it's not just a deal with a country. Well, how many countries are in European Union? Let's see, how many are 27. So, by agreeing with a trade deal for the European Union, Donald Trump, in one foul swoop, struck trade deals with Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Czechia. What the hell is that? I think that used to be the Czech Republic. Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, the Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, and Sweden. One shot. I don't know how many Ford vehicles are going to be driving around Malta, but, we'll see how that goes. Obviously, of those 27 countries I named there, only like 6 of them matter. If you're from one of the other ones, I'm not saying they don't matter. You know what I mean, okay? I got a feeling if, Latvia is upset by this, I think Germany might just push them along. I mean, the head of the European Union's name is Ursula, so, How the hell do you name your kid Ursula, by the way? I don't know. I don't know how you do that. But whatever. Little off topic. A weekend of winning for the president. Because it turns out, as I've said numerous times on this show, you cannot run a country on the 24-hour news cycle timeline. Things take time, and they develop, and they move forward. Democrats, however, have nothing to run on. They have absolutely nothing to talk about. And when they get asked about it, the neocons have nothing to say. But some people in the Democratic Party are saying it out loud. They're saying the true part out loud. There are very few of them. One of them is Stephen A. Smith. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, here's Jeremy.
Hey everyone, sorry to barge in like this, but I do want to talk to you about this opportunity for 45% off of Everyday Dose coffee. And this isn't just your regular coffee, folks. If you're like me, you love your coffee routine. I've loved my coffee routine since I was probably 16 years old. Unfortunately, as I've gotten older, some of the coffee that I love doesn't love me back and does cause bloating, does cause jitters, can only drink so much a day, and there's really only so much I can do with it. Now, Everyday Dose is known as Coffee Plus Benefits. And what I mean by that, folks, is A, there is an ingredients booklet in there that gives you a ton of different recipes on how to make cold brew coffees of all different kinds, lattes, different hot coffees, and more. But the greatest thing about Everyday Dose is it is known as Coffee Plus Benefits, meaning that you're going to have 100% Arabica coffee, and you're going to also have lion's mane, chaga, collagen protein, and nootropics that keep your brain focused. No jitters, no heart palpitations, and a ton of different recipes. And you're going to get a frother, a tumbler, a box set with a bunch of different gifts in it, an ingredients booklet for recipes, coffee, and more for only $27, folks. 45% off by going to everydaydose.com/LFATV. That's everydaydose.com/LFATV. Why not expand your experiences with coffee? That's everydaydose.com/LFATV.
Guys, head on over to everydaydose.com/LFATV. That's everydaydose.com/LFATV. So some Democrats are actually out there speaking the truth on what the issue with Democrats is. Because as we've said on this show, Democrats stand for nothing. Some Democrats do stand for something, and those are the ones who have been the most successful, which we'll get to later on in the show. But one of the Democrats actually just saying it are the ones with nothing to lose. And that would be Stephen A. Smith, who is now being brought onto network television to tell Democrats what's wrong with them.
Okay, so let me move forward on the Democrats. We were just talking on the roundtable about this new Wall Street Journal poll that shows even on issues where the public does not approve of the president or of Republicans, they actually have a lower approval rating of the Democrats.
Yeah. Oh, that's easy to understand. One party has a leader in Donald Trump. You can refute, nobody can refute that. He is the leader of the GOP and the Republican Party. Make no mistake about it. The Democrats don't have a leader. I see, who's your leader? Who is it? Is it AOC? Is it Bernie Sanders? Is it Jasmine Crockett? Who is it? You know, we respect so many people on Capitol Hill. I'm certainly not here to cast aspersions upon individuals, but as a body, the Democratic Party just looks very, very bad right now because they look leaderless. They don't have a definitive voice that anybody can depend on. When we look towards 2028, for example, we see a guy like Governor Wes Moore, who I like a lot and I think is very capable. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, who I like and I think is very, very capable. But when you talk about a national voice for the Democratic Party, it is literally non-existent. You have no one right now. I'm in New York City. You've got this guy, Zohran Mamdani, that won the Democratic nominee over former governor Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo and Mayor Eric Adams are going against one another as an independent, and there's fear about them canceling one another out and paving the way for Mamdani, who's a renowned socialist. That's not what America really, really is about. Nevertheless, he could end up being the mayor of New York City. Why? Yeah. Because when you don't have any kind of leader whatsoever, you're going to look to grab one any way you can, any chance you get. That's what the situation is with the Democratic Party. They do not have a leader.
All right.
No lie detected there from Stephen A. And look, Stephen A's a Democrat for sure. I've been a big fan of his for a long time. I like Stephen A. Smith. Always have. Always have. And we saw it this weekend in that New York City. We saw it last weekend in New York City. What do I mean by that? Well, there's a guy that used to have a TV show. You may have heard of him. His name is Stephen Colbert. Had a show, nobody really watched it. He got it, First he had a show where he glued his lips to Jon Stewart's ass for like 12 years, and then CBS gave him a show that was hosted by a legend, David Letterman. You guys might have heard of Colbert. Well, he got fired the other day, and there have been protests, ongoing protests outside of CBS studios in New York City to give Stephen Colbert his show back. And over the weekend, I got to be honest with you, they managed to muster like a dozen people for that protest.
And I think that it's disgusting when we can't even depend on the courts to defend our democracy anymore. And that is why we are here today, to be maliciously compliant to our First Amendment right to stand up to this regime. And that's exactly what this is. It is a regime. This is not an administration. We did not vote for this.
I don't want to be a dick, but even the guy with the drums isn't even playing them.
I'm not going to appreciate every single one of y'all for showing up today. Again, it does not matter how little of us there are. We know we've had an impact.
Wow. Democrats, you are out there in force. You are out there in force. I would not want to mess around with those Democrats. Now, on the other hand, let's contrast that to the event that I was at over the weekend. Let's contrast that to the walkaway rally that I attended with Brandon Strzok and Brianna Lyman, who's she's going to be on the show next week. A big fan of Brianna, by the way. Jim Walden, who's running for governor. Maud Maron, who's running for district attorney. Let's contrast that crowd. Let me move this a little bit so you can see it. Let's contrast that crowd with the crowd who showed up for our event. There's a few more people there than at the Colbert event. A few more people. Here were some of the scenes from there, and then I'll show you my speech because something funny happened right in the middle of it.
It's going down in New York City, ladies and gentlemen. Thousands of New Yorkers show up to protest against socialism and Zohran Mamdani. There's a shift happening in New York City with many different people are coming out by the thousands. Let's get to this video from Brandon Strzok. He is the leader of this movement. He literally went out there and he is fighting against socialism. He's leading the movement. He says that this is nothing personal against Zohran Mamdani, but he has to give Zohran Mamdani the fight of his life by pushing a Republican candidate, maybe, but people have to reject socialism in New York City. So let's take a listen to this.
I recognize that Zohran Mamdani has captured the interest and the attention of many people in Gen Z, many people in minority communities, and a lot of people think that he is the answer to their problems. Why? Because the pain points that he's talking about are very, very real. New York City is unaffordable for people. Rents are too high. Groceries are unaffordable. The struggle is real in New York, but there's just one problem. Democratic socialism takes vulnerable people and lies to them and tells them that the government will solve all of their problems. It tells them, oh, but if only you give the government more power over your housing, over your electricity, over your groceries, over your transportation, over your education, over your health care, over your child care, we will fix all of your problems. Let me ask you something, ladies and gentlemen. When is the last time you woke up and thought to yourself, thank goodness for the government, they really fixed that problem? Never. It's never happened. And you know why? Because forget the Democratic, it's horse shit. It's just a Trojan horse. It's false marketing. This is soft communism. I'm not going to say democratic socialism. It's just plain socialism, which is a fancy way of dressing up communism. And communism and socialism have never succeeded. They've always failed everywhere they've ever been attempted.
So,
and look, we had thousands of people out there. Middle of New York City. We even got one very special protester. Some of you know her, Crackhead Barney. Some of you know of this woman. She shows up to all of the New York City rallies. As a matter of fact, it's not really a rally in New York City unless Crackhead Barney shows up. And we're going to have some fun. I'm going to show you my speech, and then I'm going to show you what happened afterwards. Because Crackhead Barney is, she likes to do some things. She likes to do some things, and it's not great. She likes to get naked in public. So we're going to enjoy that. Here was my speech being interrupted by this lunatic.
So my name's Kevin Smith. I'm the founder of The Loud Majority. Some of you have been to our events before, and I want you to know that from Montauk to Manhattan, everyone is coming together to stop Zoran Mamdani. This is not Democrat. This is not Republican. This is a danger to this country. This is a danger to New York City that we will never come back from, because this is the test case. If they can win here, they will do it in cities all over America. And once that happens, as we're seeing in many European countries, you don't come back from it. That cannot happen. Look, guys, I do activism all over the country. And every time I go anywhere, everyone says the same thing to me. What the hell is wrong with the people of New York? What is going on? Alvin Bragg, Zoran Mamdani, the crime all over the place, the crazy protesters at college campuses. What are you doing? And I look at them with shame. And I say, New York is the greatest city in the world. Amen. It is the capital of the world. And right now, we are the laughing stock of America. And that kills me. That kills me to go to Atlanta, Georgia, and Los Angeles and Chicago and have everybody laughing at the New Yorker. That kills me. So what can you do? What can you do to stop this? Guys, there are a myriad of ways. Number one, registering new voters. You want to vote twice? Go register somebody to vote. I promise you there are people in your family, there are people that you know who have never... Hey, Crackhead Barney's back.
Oh my God. I love her, but she's crazy.
God, was my speech that bad?
No!
Holy crap. Look, it's not a protest in New York unless Crackhead Barney shows up. Let's go. Right, she's everywhere. And now she's gone. At least she's wearing clothes this time. When we were down at the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, she came basically naked. It was horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. But guys, how do you do this? In your particular neighborhood, wherever it is you may live, register.
And that's what Crackhead Barney does. But, you know, I promised you guys I would show you the goods. So here's a little super cut put together by the good people over at freedomnews.tv. You guys should be following them on all social media. Follow Alia Scootercaster because her team is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Enjoy.
What so proudly we held.
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up, New York City is ground zero in this fight to stop Democrat socialist takeover of our nation, and we're out here fighting for it.
USA! 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 Away! Walk 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 away!
And reason. God gives you those things.
Barney's here!
We want to welcome Jamal to come and speak. Thank you very much.
Barney's here! You got the flag flag! Nice.
I had to see it, so you had to also. Hey, it's New York. You know, we do everything bigger and better than everyone. Although I will just say to Crackhead Barney, every time I see you, it reminds me that I've never said this before, but that woman needs to put more clothes on. That woman needs to put more clothes on. Guys, we'll be back in 1 second because we're going to talk about this. A lot of people ask me, and before I do that, shout out to Brandon Strzok and his entire team for putting that together. It was not easy to put together. Your permitting and sound systems and everything like that. It's a lot of work to do. It's a lot of work to start a movement, to start an organization like that. It's not easy. You get a lot of slings and arrows, and there were a lot of really, really rude people there talking shit about Brandon, and I didn't really like that. There was also one guy that got in my face because he's fat and doesn't like me. But, you know, what are you going to do? Things happen. Things happen. But in just a second, we're going to talk to somebody who 4 years ago was not politically active at all. Not politically active at all. And over the course of those 4 years, after starting an organization in the state of Florida, she was able to be at a bill signing at the White House right in front of President Trump with her kids for a historic moment. Guys, we'll be right back with the founder of Moms for America, Ali Leger. Alrighty, guys, we are back. Super excited to have my next guest on. We got to hang out at the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit. The last week on this show, I've basically been having all of my Turning Point friends on because I keep telling you guys that when you go to these conferences, it turns into Republican summer camp, which is exactly what it is. Please welcome the host of Open Mic with Ali and Michelle, Ali Leger. Ali, how are you?
Hi, guys. How are you this evening? Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Absolutely. I got to return the favor. You know, I was on your show down at TP USA, and you know, it's so much fun down there. I've been telling my audience for like a week. We had like everybody from down there on the show over the course of the last week. But you know, so many people want to get involved, and maybe they don't know how, or they don't have anybody in their area. And I constantly tell them that if you go to these sorts of conferences, you're going to meet so many people that are just like you, maybe not necessarily from your direct area, but you're going to be able to make connections all over the country to be able to do so many different things. How was the concert? How was the conference for you? I know you had a booth there, which I was incredibly jealous about. But what was it like?
Well, first, I kind of want to comment on what you said just now. You don't need a platform to make a difference, right? Your platform is wherever your 2 feet are. And you have a cell phone, right? Everybody has a computer, a device that you can record from. So your platform is literally wherever you are. And I love that you said that you go to these places and you can plug in with people that maybe are in your area, maybe are not, but they're close by. Guys, this is how I was able to meet you and all of our friends. I met us through a Walk-A-Con event held by Brandon Strzok in Florida on the other coast. wasn't expecting to go, and I got a ticket, and I was like, of course. And then I met all of you, and now we're all like best friends. It's amazing. So SAS for me was awesome. It's always awesome. Turning Point does an incredible job, including and engaging the younger audience, more geared towards like I don't know. I like to say elder millennials because that's just kind of where we're at. Yeah. But down all the way down to, you know, like school age kids, like in middle school and high school. I saw a lot of that age group there too. But Gen Z has a fire for America. Their American spirit has been lit on fire because of the MAGA America First movement, and they're just steamrolling ahead. And for me, I enjoy meeting people that I wouldn't normally meet anywhere else. I am kind of new to, well, not, I don't want to say new to politics. I've been engaged for about 10, 11 years. And maybe a little bit longer than that, but that was more so through the medical freedom movement and more so on the back end. It wasn't really public until 2020 hit. And I was like, wait, this is not what I raised my right hand and gave a blank check to the government for. This is tyranny and we're not going to stand for this. So, you know, I kind of just did it that way. But when you
it is so great. And like you said, there's a lot of people watching this who have young kids or college kids that, you know, they feel a certain way. They maybe not know, you know, had to dive right in. I often joke around that if you go to CPAC, we're the youngest people in the room, but if you go to Turning Point, you and I are the oldest.
Is that weird? It's so weird.
So weird. There's like so many people. Every time I go to CPAC, there's like guys telling me, you know, what a great guy Reagan was. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he was before I was born. That was a lot of fun. I'm sure it was great. Like, you know, I'm sure having to get up and physically change the channel on the TV was great. But they're like, oh, you host a podcast. What is that? Is that like a radio show? I'm like, yeah, I'm on amrumble.com. So it is exciting to see new people moving into the movement and new people engaging. So you are in the free state of Florida. By the way, you're welcome for all the new Republicans who have left my shithole of New York.
If only they would engage and vote during the primaries, guys. Like I cannot, not just the primary, but like during the midterms. When you have less than 12% of registered voters come out to vote during the midterms, like I want to pull my hair out. And we door knock and we send out emails and we do all the things. And it's like, what is wrong with you? Why can you not get out and go vote? I don't understand.
Oh yeah, but you know, honestly, we deal with that everywhere. There was, you know, whether it's, you know, you do a lot of work with the school board candidates, and you do a lot of work with moms who have taken over. You know, there's a famous Steve Bannon quote that revolutions don't start until mothers get pissed off, and
those are facts.
that is a fact. You know, there was a biography of Abigail Adams that was done, and in it they talk about how, like, she would break John Adams's balls about how much everything cost and all this, and that is what like led him to, because he was a little tepid about getting involved in everything. And then once his wife started breaking his chops, he was like, fine, I'll ride a horse to Philadelphia.
Right.
Anything to get out of the house for a little bit.
You're welcome.
Until the moms are upset. So what was it for you? Because everybody had their breaking point, and everybody had their line where they're like, I can no longer sit on the sideline. I can't be quiet anymore. What was it for you?
Well, for me, this started with like way back, I think when my son was born, my second was born, he ended up having some vaccine injury, which is not necessarily considered a vaccine injury. It's a natural reaction to poison. Now that I've done the research and I've looked and I've read through literally almost every single publication that Bobby Kennedy has put out, Jr. has put out, all of his books, the NIH studies, the CDC studies, like all of these things you can find on PubMed. They're all like legit. I was studying because I was tired of being gaslit by doctors that literally saw my kid react to being poisoned. And I was told, oh, don't worry about that. We're not going to annotate it in the documents or in his medical chart because you're here in Florida and we have a religious exemption. It's fine. Or we were told, don't worry about that. You know, it's a normal reaction. And I'm like, that's not normal. My kid had bright eyes, was able to like look at me and talk to me. He was beginning to talk, beginning to walk after the MMR. Like the kid just would not answer you. Like you could snap your fingers and he just was oblivious. And then he would lay there and stare at the ceiling fan and spin for hours and hours and hours. And then when he was able and wanted to get up and walk and talk and do all the things, he would sit and flip like the bowls. Because you know how bowls kind of have like that wobbly thing.
Yeah.
And he would flip them for hours. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't. So we moved here to Florida after my ex discharged from the military. He got out, he retired, and we moved here. I had my daughter. She ended up having 12-month vaccinations done. She had a reaction, and I was sitting at a football game with my eldest son, who is in county sports, and I overheard some moms talk about vaccine exemptions and some bills that were coming out, and I was like, wait, I thought you had to get your kids vaccinated in order for them to go to school. And she goes, oh no, honey. She gave me a binder literally this big. Okay. And she was like, go through all of that, read it, and then we'll talk. So I did. And we ended up killing about, I don't know, 8 or 9 bills in a year, because there was, I believe it was 2018, California had bills that were going through the House that were aiming to strip away protections from medical industry, that parents could not make that decision. They wanted the government to make that decision for you, essentially. And there was a senator here in Florida, Lauren Book. She wanted to do the same thing. And we all looked at each other and was like, absolutely not are we going to do this? So we all got together and we worked with a couple of other groups around, and we killed about 8 of her bills that year. And then 2020 happened. And when you hear your governor tell you, or your president tell you, that you are not essential, if you are a non-essential worker, you cannot go to work. I said, excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm working to put food on my table, how does that make me non-essential? Who's paying my bills? Who is going to go to the store to get food for my kids? How am I supposed to go get medication? Then I was denied care at a healthcare facility. I was recently diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, and I refused to wear a mask during that whole situation. And it just didn't make any sense to me. I'm prior service, and my job, I think it's kind of funny, actually. My job was CBRN, chemical, radiological, nuclear, biological warfare. So in our training, you have to wear a hazmat, almost like a hazmat suit, with a full-fledged like gas mask and everything. I was like, if this virus is this serious and I don't see our military walking around wearing that, I am not concerned. Mm-hmm. And guess what I did not see? I did not see that. So I said, you know what? This virus is ridiculous. You guys think it is the smartest virus in the world. It doesn't affect you if you're sitting down with your mask off, but if you stand up and you're not wearing a mask, you're going to die. Now I'm killing grandmas, but you're all putting them all in the same room, and they're all infected. None of this made any sense. So I ended up running for school board, because our school board lost its mind and wanted to essentially discriminate against our kids. Mm-hmm. Those that could wear masks, those that couldn't. And we had special needs kids. I spoke for special needs. My son was on the spectrum and he was not wearing a mask. I was not going to do that. It didn't make any sense to me. So
that was
it.
That was what, 2020?
2020.
So just so you guys have a little bit of context, Allie gets involved in 2020. Trump gets reelected in 2024, going into 2025. And then this happens. And then you find yourself at the White House for the Title IX, for the ban of men in women's sports. There you are, right next to Riley Gaines. It was funny. I was watching this happen in real time, and all I kept thinking about was, oh my God, those are all my friends.
Yeah.
It was you and Alex Bauer and Riley Gaines, and I think Caitlin Wheeler was there. So I'm like, all my friends are there, and for some reason I am watching it on TV, and this is crap. So how in 4 years, and look, it's a lot of hard work, I'm sure. How in 4 years do you go from not being even politically involved to do you get any closer than that?
Well, so in 2020, we held a reopen rally. I created a group called Moms for Freedom here in Florida. We ended up taking over Florida. We vetted a lot of candidates. We had candidate meet and greets. We vetted them. We introduced our candidates for the first time to the mom vote, which has never been done before. Moms were pissed And we were flooding school boards like you have never seen before. Moms were being arrested. They were being kicked out of school boards. Their mics were being turned off. And I had had enough. So I was going and constantly going and going and going. And then our governor decided to endorse, which was the first time that's ever happened in American history, to endorse candidates. I was invited to speak on DEI at one of his press conferences. This is Governor DeSantis. I spoke. They gave me 5 minutes. I took 10, maybe 7.5.
I'm not shutting you up. I'll tell you that. I've seen you once you get going. I'm not going.
I took about 7.5 minutes and kind of had a mic drop moment. And he came out and he said, I have nothing else to say. She's running for school board and I fully endorse her. And so that was it. I was the first school board candidate to ever be endorsed by a sitting governor in the history of American politics. I did not win. However, I did panic the left. I earned 85,000 votes. About 10,000 of those were...
Wait. 85,000 votes in a school board election?
Yeah, so I ran countywide. I wasn't district specific. And my county had almost 2 million people in it.
Is that how that... Damn, that's wild. I mean, our school board candidates, we get like 2,000 votes in a good high turnout election.
Well, that's a district. That's district specific. If I ran district specific, I would have won hands down. But because I did the whole county, first of all, my opponent did not campaign at all. But I made her spend an astronomical amount of money. And then she copied the way I look. So we're kind of similar in skin tone. She would wear her hair straight. I did as well. But now I'm like, you know what? You can't copy this. So I keep my hair curly. And my signature color is hot pink. So I would wear a hot pink blazer everywhere I went. She ended up putting out a flyer that had her with straight long hair in the same blazer that I was wearing. So people were confused. If you were an uneducated voter and you hadn't seen my face and I didn't speak to you, people were a little confused on who to vote for. But I ended up, my point is that I ended up winning about 10,000 of independent and Democrat votes, even though a lot of the Republican establishment was like, don't waste your time over there. They're not going to listen to you. And I'm like, look, I know walkaways because I'm a walkaway. So I know exactly what to talk about.
Absolutely. We just had the walkaway rally here in New York, and it was absolutely awesome. Brandon came out here.
So
we kicked ass on that one. It was a good time. So it was I'd say probably about 1,000, 1,500 people showed up in New York City.
That's amazing.
It was wild. It was absolutely wild.
Kevin, I also got involved with Moms for America. So Moms for America is a national organization that has over 500,000 moms in our network. We're aiming to get 1 million, and we need them, right? We need moms everywhere. And the department that I run is civic engagement. I'm the director of civic engagement, and we're focusing on school boards. There's 13,497 school board counties, right, in every single state. We need moms that are keeping an eye on what is going on with our schools. And the reason why I say that is because you educate the child, so goes the soul of the nation. And as you've seen in the last 5 years, even prior to that, our school system has failed to educate our students, which is why we have a resurgence of socialism and Marxism and like communism kind of taking hold and taking root, especially because we've had woke ideology, which is what we call it, in the universities. So our education system has not been great. We've ranked below the 50th percentile across the world for a really long time. And so when we have moms that understand the proper role of government, they understand rules and regulations and policies that are being pushed and procedures that are being pushed through the Department of Education, not obviously nationally because that's been disbanded, but in their state, and you're able to actually build relationships with your school board members and those that are hired within a district, because they usually stay longer than the school board member, especially if you have term limits. So when you're building those relationships, you're able to have these conversations that a lot of people they think it's difficult to have. But when you are concerned about, and your only focus is, how are we educating our children and how are we setting them up for life after school so that they are productive citizens of our country and our county and they're giving back, then it should be an easy conversation. And school board members should be willing to help you. So essentially you're kind of your helpmate. You're somebody that is going in and you're like, look, I'm here to assist you. And if you're not going to do what I think that you should be doing as far as constitutionality goes and proper rules and procedures go, then we're going to find someone to replace you. And at any given moment, when you build that network, you're able to utilize your political pressure and apply the pressure appropriately.
That is so awesome, and that is such an inspiring message that really anybody can get involved. It all it takes is a little push, and you can dive right in. Allie, where can everybody follow you? Where can they sign up for Moms for Freedom? How do they get involved?
So you can always follow me on all social media platforms at Real Allie Leger. I'm on like TikTok and Instagram and X. Usually X is my favorite platform right now, but everywhere there. And then you can always go to momsforamerica.us or .com, momsforamerica.com. My email is allie@momsforamerica.us. You guys can email me. We can talk about all of our programs and just get involved, really. All politics is local, right? And what General Flynn, who is a personal friend of mine, I feel like I've been adopted into the family. It's funny. He always says local action equals national impact. And I always take that a step further. And it's like, well, if not now, then when? If not who, then you. What are you going to say to your kids in the next, 10, 20 years when you realize that tyranny was knocking at your door? Are you going to tell them that you bent the knee and you didn't do anything? Or are you going to tell them that you scrapped for their freedom? Because it's not handed down. You have to fight for it. And you can't fight for something you don't love. So if you don't love it and you don't know it, what are you fighting for? So get to know your country, get to know your Constitution, and feed that to your kids so that the world doesn't feed them Marxism.
I love that message. Allie, thank you so much for joining us. We will talk very soon. Hopefully I see you before AmFest. Yes. I got to make it down south more often. But
I know it was hot, but you loved it. It was great.
It was great, except for with the parts where I was outside.
I know. I'm sorry. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I hope to see you soon.
Absolutely.
Bye.
See you soon. Alrighty, guys. We will be right back. Guys, I want to thank Allie for coming on. Make sure you guys go give her a follow all over the place. The open mic with Allie and Michelle here on Rumble and Real Allie Leger. I love her last name, by the way. Leger. On X, definitely a good follow. I want to thank Allie for coming on, having a chat with us about all of that. So, guys, before we get to the important news, because there is a lot of that going on today, we're going to break up the show a little bit. We're going to have ourselves a little bit of fun. And to Grant Johnston in the chat right now, in my personal chat, you're really not going to like this segment. You're really not going to like it because obviously you don't touch grass very often. You're absolutely insane. Before we get to that, though, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Let's get rocking. Let's get rolling here. Do me a favor. Head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this program and everything we've got going on over here. All of the merch for you guys. All the good stuff. I got to be honest. I think my personal favorite so far has been the We the People Are Back T-shirts, available in just about every color, guys. Head on over, pick those up today, loudmajorityusa.com, and use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. That's promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. So we're going to talk about somebody now. Some of you may not be familiar with her. She's I wouldn't say a new actress, but she's incredibly well known. She's also unbelievably hot. Her name is Sydney Sweeney. Some of you may remember her from her recent appearance on Saturday Night Live when she may have had less of a shirt on than some people would have liked, but I was a huge fan. Whatever. She has created a serious controversy here because she had the audacity. Are you ready for this? She had the audacity to do a commercial for jeans. And the left is losing their minds over it. You guys ready for this commercial? It turns out woke is dead. And this is the proof.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
Now, 10, 15 years ago, this would have been your standard over-sexualized commercial. You know, whatever. But Sydney Sweeney, no. Because, you see, she's blonde with blue eyes. Therefore, Therefore,
genes are passed down from
you know what?
parents
Let's watch
to
it one more time.
offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
I don't know about you guys, but I think denim on denim is coming back. All the 90s kids are very excited about that. But the left is very upset with Sydney Sweeney over this. And it's not going to shock any of you what the people who are upset about this look like.
Should we be surprised that a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this? Probably not, but it's still really shocking. Like, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Like, that is Nazi propaganda.
Now, that was just one. There are dozens of those things out there who are very upset at the Sydney Sweeney ad. I want to be clear. You know, I don't know. I feel like the age of, like, really fat people doing Calvin Klein commercials are over, and some of these brands are going back to just letting hot people sell their clothing, like has been done since the concept of advertisement. I don't know. I do think it's incredibly funny. If you guys go on X right now and just type in Sydney Sweeney, and you are going to see a gaggle of things, a gaggle of freaks out there very, very upset about that commercial. Now, you could say it was a bit over-sexualized, and I might agree with you. I might disagree with you of that being a problem, but, you know, whatever. The gaggle of freaks are out. Now, if the gaggle of freaks were half as concerned about actual crimes going on in this country, actual waste, actual problems, than they were about Sydney Sweeney being a smoke show, maybe we might actually get things fixed. But luckily, there are still some people out there who actually care about real-world problems. We're going to get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed, because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. As I said, guys, there are some people out there that are actually care about real-world problems and not the fact that Sydney Sweeney happens to be hot and wearing jeans at the same time. Well, in just a second, we're going to be joined by somebody who really wants to talk about the millennial crisis that is happening in this country. And there is a serious crisis that nobody seems to be talking about. And it is something that I think we should be talking about more. We spoke about it the other day. We will be back in 1 second with the influencer coordinator over at Turning Point USA, Kelsey McSorley. I want to be clear. That sounds like a crazy position, but she's actually one of the most powerful people I know and one of the best people I know. Guys, we'll be right back. Alrighty, guys, we are back. I'm super excited to introduce you guys to my next guest. We're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff because her and I face a lot of the same issues, and I'm sure a lot of your kids are facing the exact same stuff. The millennial crisis that is going on in America today. And there certainly is a crisis, whether it is the housing market, whether it is the prospect of starting families, what all is going on and how can it be fixed? Everybody, please say hello to my friend, Kelsey McSorley. Kelsey, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So you are one of my favorite people. We got to hang out at the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit a little bit.
Yes.
You work for Turning Point. We'll talk about that briefly, and then we'll dive in to the big stuff. Just because everybody in my audience, everybody I told to come down and everything was what's it like? Because I mean, it's a little bit different going to summer camp as it is to working at the summer camp. And that's what I tell everybody. All the Turning Point conferences end up being like. You start to see your conference friends that you don't see from all over the country. You're from the West Coast and or out west. So you get to run into everybody that you don't really see all that often. So what's it like being on the? And you've been there for years. So you've been there since I don't maybe not the
4
beginning,
years.
but. Yeah, you've been there for a long time. So what's it like working there? What's it like?
Yeah, well, it's wild because I've known about Turning Point for 8 years now. I'm 31, which is funny. I'm going to talk about millennials. Most people assume I'm 20 and that this is my first job out of college. It's not. I'm from the Midwest and was in the working class prior to this. And, I did other things as well. Like I worked for a state representative. And so that experience transferred well to Turning Point. And I started like 8 months into the Biden administration. So it was wild. I remember my very first moment, by the way, coming into the office was the whole crisis in Afghanistan. It was as they were chanting death to America, and the reporter said, they're chanting death to America, but it seems mostly peaceful, or whatever that moment was. That was the exact moment I came into the office, and everyone was on their computers watching the news. Everybody was screaming and just like, not like screaming, but like it was so chaotic. And it was like that honorary first day everybody talks about is like, what was your first day? Because we had a coworker whose first day was January 6th. And it's just like it's a badge of honor to have started on a big news day.
You definitely hit the ground running on that one for sure. There aren't many slow news days in the last decade or so, and that certainly wasn't one of them.
Definitely not in the last 4 years, but yeah, it'll be a full 4 years as of August, and it's just wild because I started during a time where everything wasn't what it is now. Like there wasn't like a very prominent, well-known conservative movement. I just had to come in, and you're talking about summer camp. I didn't know who everybody was. I had followed a number of people that I'd mainly heard about from Politics at the time, which was Alex Clark's, original show with us. And I kind of knew of some people in the conservative movement and some people I looked up to, but it took me a while to really get in there. And I wouldn't say a while. I mean, I caught on right away with who everybody was, but it took a while before we started gaining a lot of momentum. So basically what I do is influencer and like celebrity recruitment. So everybody from, Danica Patrick to like the small influencer over here who's like trying to get into their first event. Oh my gosh. I'm talking about people even small.
You got Danica Patrick all the way down to Kevin. And what? Just being on the list with Danica Patrick is enough for me. I met her at not the Student Action Summit at AmFest last year, and I got to be honest, I didn't handle it well. I freaked out a little. I didn't ask Savvy next time you see her. She'll tell you. I had a real fanboy moment online, but
that's so sweet. She's really great to work with. I was just telling people at the office day, I'm like, she came to my birthday party. It was like a lunch we had at the office for our birthdays, and she just showed up, and she was like asking for me because I invited her and brought her in, and her sister too. And so she was like, where's Kelsey? And then she came to my birthday party. And so it's like telling people that story is just so cute. But
that's awesome.
She was amazing.
I can't get my brother to come to my birthday party. You had Danica Patrick.
It wasn't an official birthday. It was just a company lunch. But yeah, it's great. I love that feeling of like you talk about summer camp, everybody coming together. And for me, once I get to build like friendships with everybody and those relationships, it's like important for me to try to balance like the staff schedule and then seeing all of you and hearing what's actually going on in your world. So yeah, it is it's about 1,000,000 details for hundreds and hundreds of people. But at least for events, it's only, you know, a percentage of the people that we work with. So that's nice.
Well, no, it's you guys throw great events. The next one, and you guys will be hearing me hype it up. AmFest in Arizona in December. Everyone should be there. First off, Arizona in December is gorgeous, but we can talk about Turning Point all day. I did want to get to, because you and I were talking before the show about a real crisis among millennials, and I am actually when this airs, I will be 36, which causes me a great deal of pain to utter out loud, because that means that I'm on the second half of things at 70, 35. I'm on the second half of life, which kills me to say out loud.
Yeah.
But there is a real crisis amongst us, whether it's having kids or getting married or buying homes. There was a recent report out that said that the average first-time home buyer in America now is 38 years old. And then we wonder why, we have the sorts of issues we have, and you really see this in the conservative movement a lot, about the idea of having kids early and getting married early and doing things the way they did them back in the day, which is fine. Of course, here on Long Island, where the average house is over $1 million, that does become a bit difficult.
Yeah, I feel that. And it's wild because that's becoming the case in a lot of major cities, or not even major cities, small towns. I mean, I'm from a more affluent part of Wisconsin, but even there, most of the homes are like well over $500,000, and they'll be like the little rinky dinky like ranch house, and not even on the lake. I'm from Lake Country. So I'm from the place where all the money is. And it's just wild to see how like the smallest of homes almost cost the same as they do out here in Scottsdale, Arizona, where I live. And, like the house we're in now just got appraised. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that like a house even smaller than the one I grew up in is worth over 10 times the value of what my, childhood home was worth. Yeah. And so to your point about people getting married young, a lot of my best friends back home did get married when they were, I think, like 22, 23. So relatively young. And they had been dating for maybe a year or two prior. So I grew up like in the church planning on getting married at like 19 or 20. I'm glad I didn't, 31, still not married. It's just wild because a lot of them did either own homes or they do now, which is great, but it just took so many years to get started, and it was still in like a much better economy. Like a lot of them bought their house in like 2019 or 2020, and by the way, no one in my generation do I know who owns a house that didn't have to take a loan from their parents. It's really sad because it's like you have no history with the bank or whatever the reasoning may be. You have to borrow the money from someone and then pay it back. So even when you're both doing very well and you have the evidence of that, you still can't get ahead financially. And it's really sad because the only people I know who are doing well in my entire generation are people who have successful parents with a decent savings. So it's just sad because I feel like that time is almost over. It's not like it can't happen, but not any time in the near future. And so my fear, and what I find strange, is how little we actually hear our own government talk about the housing crisis. It's always Iran, Ukraine, Russia, China, Israel. It's never like, here's our housing market crisis, the suicide rates, the health issues. Like they do touch on a variety of things, but it's just sad to see how many issues will like destroy not only the millennial generation, but also the Gen Z generation as well. I mean, think about it. Like with COVID, they couldn't go to prom. A lot of them didn't have a normal high school experience. Now they're graduating. They're in the worst end of the workforce ever, where there's the up and end of opportunity, kind of like in our industry, what we do, where people are like, college is a scam. You don't need a degree. Like, I'll hire you, XYZ. And I know probably like some of the most successful people in Gen Z who like bought a house at 20, who could buy investment properties at 21, who work in the White House. Like those are people that, you know, you and I hang out with, and that's great. And some of them went to college, some didn't, but they just started working at a really young age. And like this generation wasn't taught to do that. So it's very sad to see how they also bought into the same lie that we did, but they don't have those couple years of like stability to try to get ahead. But even then, you look at our generation. I mean, most people I know, especially here, like in Arizona, I know so many people my age, and no one is killing it. I mean, I'm telling you, no one in the millennial generation is like doing well.
Yeah.
Over 50. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I was going to say, it's just, you know, there's so many things that people our age just don't do. I mean, I was reading the other day, only our generation, the millennials, own about 8% of the stock market, whereas baby boomers own 54% and Gen X owning 22%. But the younger generation, some studies have it under 1%. Under 1% of the generation below us has any sort of investment whatsoever. And believe me, I wish people had told me earlier on in life to get into the market, to get into mutual funds, take money instead of putting it into a savings account and letting Jamie Dimon invest it, just to invest it myself. And it feels like when you see the rise of these sort of socialists all over the country, like Zoran Mamdani and AOC and all of them, I think to myself, well, yeah, why wouldn't that happen? My generation, I'm 36 years, 36, Jesus, saying it again kind of hurts. But like people, we own nothing. So why should we feel invested in the system? Why should we put forth effort into a system that seems like it is almost impossible for us to ever get the benefits of? I mean, we've been saying for years where you and I are never going to see Social Security. That's never there, but we're paying into it every week.
Well, and it's like, first of all, with what we've lived through in our lifetime, why would we, for me, when I heard that, like, I mean, I've known about Social Security for a long time, but the last couple of years, I'm like, no one's going to see that money. Like, I would never put my trust in the government. Only unless I have like access to something, do I ever trust I'll get it back. And even then, that's a gamble, depending on where you bank. But it's wild because like for our generation, it's not just like the house, but I don't think that people understand that not being able to own a home not only prohibits you from like feeling like you can build a life, you can still build a family, but just the financial benefit to it is great. I mean, if you're in a good place to deal with repairs and all of that, but it's just like, not only that, but the job market is awful. And what I was going to say is most people my age are still living, not quite, but just a step above where they were about 10 years ago when they graduated college. Like imagine, and I've noticed this treatment from boomers in the workforce where it's like, not just when I graduated college and yes, I needed to humble myself. I was lied to by university. You know, I had internships. I, you know, could almost speak a second language. I had XYZ jobs and was in all these clubs in school. So I'm going to get the most amazing job at XYZ company. And then none of those jobs are available. Or there's, you know, 10,000 kids competing for the same 30 decent jobs, like where I was in the Midwest. So I knew I'd have to relocate. And then it's like, how do you have money to relocate? Well, your parents have to pay. So it's just sad. It's like, unless your parents are well off, it really can hinder your future unless you're like completely like, oh, what's the word? Like disowned from your, oh yeah, self-sufficient.
Yeah, like unless
disowned
you
from your parents.
The era of like people like my uncles and my dad who worked the same job for 25 years, retired with a good pension, those days, they're over. They're done. You know, most jobs here, particularly like the civil service jobs, high school graduates could fall back on. You could be a cop, you could be a corrections officer, you could be a firefighter, a sanitation worker. Basically, any job in New York City, work for the MTA, the Long Island Railroad. And you can retire in 20, 25 years. Now some guys got to work till they're 65, 70 because of union contracts and whatnot. The entire job market has completely changed, and the way people our age see work. I mean, look, it is not hard for me to understand why people could be resentful when they see TikTokers and OnlyFans models and people with no real work ethic whatsoever making it huge. Not like, oh, I mean, look, am I an influencer on X? Yeah, but I don't live off that. Like, it's like $100 a month. It's kind of funny, but like I know people that make $50,000 a month on Twitter, and all they do is tweet all day long. So why would I go become a mechanic when I can just be a YouTuber and makeup tutorials?
Yeah, exactly. And I've worked underneath like those people before who I will just say, and you and I talked about this privately, and I was like, I'm not dissing you because I know all of your other involvements and that you do real activism, but a lot of these men who just want to be a podcaster, I think it's really hurting women's idea of like marriage, traditional gender roles, all of that, because now it's like, well, he just wants to talk for a couple hours a day. And some podcasts, they require a ton of research. They might require some journalism, a lot of like booking guests and everything. Like, I work in media, so I understand like content creation is actually like, depending on what you do, it can be one of the hardest jobs ever. It's a lot harder than just answering emails and just getting paid no matter what you do. You have to like really work and grind for it. And it's something you put so much into that you don't always get back at all. I don't think people understand that, but it is hard to see people who, they just want to have their show and then they want to have a female assistant or a wife or, a girlfriend who just does everything for them, the 8 to 12 hour heavy dirty administrative work while they're just like the star, and think, oh, I'm not good with details, so the women should do it. And that's just hard because it's like now men really think that women want to be in the workforce, and realistically most women want to leave the workforce. They want to have a traditional family, they want to settle down, but a lot of men, it's not just that they can't provide because like the workforce sucks, the economy sucks or whatever, but it's honestly, it depends on the person, but I see a lot of people who are just not willing to like even work a full-time job. Like, I look at some of the most hopeless men and I'm like, you work part-time. What do you mean you can't figure this out, or you can't do that for yourself, or you don't have time for a side hustle? Like, get a better job. And it's just so hard, with
People
all of
are
that
so
too.
people our age, I feel like so many of them are just so stuck and there's no motivation.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, I do this, but like, it's a full-time job, but it's not my full-time job. Like, so it's I don't get me wrong. I would do this for free because I love it. But it is, there are so many people, I can't tell you how many of my friends are like, bro, I think I'm going to start a podcast. And I'm like, all right, cool. Call me in 6 years when 12 people are watching. Because that's how this way. If you think you're gonna, if you're out there and you're young and you're watching this and you think you're gonna start a podcast and you're gonna be Joe Rogan next week, you're on drugs. Because like Joe Rogan is one of one, and it's the likelihood of being on that level where a podcast is going to support your entire career. Yes. The odds are less likely than making the pros. And
well, I know some people have made it happen, but like
I mean, look, I thought I was gonna play in the pros too, but like every other high school guy in the world.
I have hope for you. I really do. You at least have viewership, but you have decent viewership. I mean, I work with a lot of the podcasters, a lot of people who email me and are like, please, 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 I have a podcast and a co-host, and they have an attitude, and you're like, you have no followers, you have no viewership. So that's tough. But I do know the men who like have 2 homes, have a mega mansion, and tons of money.
I have friends, like I said, I got guys I played ball with growing up that they made it. Some people do make it. And for those people that have figured out how to do it, please teach me the way, Yoda. But
I have one tip from them, if I could share. They decided to pursue it full time for 6 months, and they had a way to support themselves while they did it. They didn't put the burden on their wives at the time. They said, I'm going to figure this out. I got it. And if their wives were like, you know what, maybe instead of 3 months, you take 6 and I'll handle it and I'll put in a couple extra hours, because because it was like a dedicated amount of sacrifice. Right. And they had
so funny. it's so funny you say that because Sean Farish and myself, we started this show together. Sean hosts the show at 10 a.m. But we got invited to Mar-a-Lago. Lee Zeldin invited us down there when we were running the Loud Majority together. We come back from Mar-a-Lago. The first day back from work, after we got done with our regular jobs, we both looked at each other and we were like, bro, I can't do this anymore. Like, if this is going to be real, we got to make it real. And Sean and I, we quit our jobs. I was a truck driver. He was working at a paint store. Like, we were like, if we want to make this real, we got to make this real. You can't just like making the pros. If you think you're going to half-ass it and you're going to be successful, that's just not going to happen. So that is the best advice in the world.
I honestly have a little extra piece of advice because honestly, like, so like my YouTube algorithm is amazing. It's not necessarily all people that I work with in the influencer space, but it's like a lot of like, I mean, like you said, truck drivers, like a truck driver who's in his 70s who thinks I'm not hot, I can't have a podcast. Honestly, it's so wild. Not only do most successful marriages not require a hot couple, there's a couple that loves each other and is committed to each other, but a lot of the biggest platforms just require you being able to connect with people. Like, I think a lot of times in our space, everybody thinks, oh, if I just go out and get work done, or if I, show off my body or whatever, then I'll gain a following. And that actually hurts them more. So find what makes you, what is most intrinsic with your values, or however you want to say that, and just like keep going at it, because there are people who try the weirdest things in our industry, and I love it because I was in like a stubborn, like suit and tie, boomer entrepreneurial community back home, and they had all these rules of marketing and rules of podcasting, and none of them are successful. Like, they may make money and that's great, but they're old. They don't understand like new media. They don't understand podcasts. They don't understand, how to actually like go from that, basic like college student beginning wage after school to like actually making it. And by not trying new things and by following standard rules, it doesn't work. So that's like my best advice to people always, is just like be weird, do whatever you want to do, and just keep going, because people really will judge you. I know the exact types of people. They may seem very powerful. They may seem like they can make or break your career, but they actually can. Like, only God can make or break your career. And I've seen it happen. Like, I've never been like proven wrong. Like, there's no one who I'm like, oh, we rejected them, or so-and-so rejected them. If they're determined, they will always become more successful. And a lot of the times, like, the more rejection they face, the better. The more
Absolutely. I have a thing that I have like a mental Rolodex in my brain of all the people that told me it would never work. You're never going to do this. You're going to get into politics. Like, you're a kid from the neighborhood. You're not connected. And then there I am standing in Mar-a-Lago, like having dinner with the president. And I'm just like, it's a good thing I cut chemistry and I was going to be a failure in life. Because, I didn't go to chemistry in high school, so I was never going to make it. I was going to be a failure, and I was never going to achieve anything. And so that mental Rolodex, all the people that have burned me or told me that it's not going to happen, I pick a name every single day and just let them know that my success is because they told me it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes that's what you need just to decide that you have somebody to like prove it to. You hear that all the time. And there's times like people's voices really do get in your head and it's devastating, but you just have to keep on going. And that's what I find, especially like just with other things in life. It's like the people who maybe they're a little insane, maybe they're a little crazy, but they're going to make it work. They're not going to take no for an answer.
I think we're all a little nuts. I mean, I look through my DMs every day and I see the death threats and the awful things people say to me. And I'm just like, should I have just taken that job as like a city sanitation worker and like done my 8 hours a day and lived in peace? Like, should I have done
in
that?
New York City or Jersey?
Yeah, in New York.
With the rats? Where the rats run the city? Mm-mm.
Yeah, well, just as long as there's not 4 turtles following them, you're pretty good. But you gotta. You might be a little young for the Ninja Turtle reference, but
no. Oh, that's so funny.
No, but they that was what I was gonna do out of high school, and then I decided that I wasn't gonna do it, and it disappointed my whole family. And now my father can't wait to tell people that hey, you know, my son's working for this congressman, or he's down here doing this, or he freaked out when he met Danica Patrick. But Kelsey, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Where can everybody follow you? Because honestly, I think you should be a bigger star in our world, and I want to do everything I can to help you get there.
Oh, you're too sweet. Well, I'm really only super active on Instagram. It's at Kelsey McSwirls. You can follow me there, send a message if you'd like. Yeah, I'll try to post more because I just am very behind the scenes with everything. Like the person
we got to get you. We got to get you out in front because you are absolutely a rising star. Kelsey, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I will see you at AmFest.
Yep, you will.
Alrighty, guys, we will be right back. Once again, guys, I want to thank Kelsey McSorley for coming on the show. Really just an awesome person doing amazing work out there. Guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. I want to say hello to Russell Finley in the Twitter chat, who said that listening to me makes him wish he were deaf. All right, well, thanks for still tuning in, bro. You've been watching for 12 and a half minutes. Kevin's raspy voice makes me want to walk into oncoming traffic, he says. All right, give it a whirl. Let me know how it goes. Guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We got a couple more stories that we got to get to. An absolutely horrifying story out of Cincinnati that is getting almost no media attention whatsoever. When I show you the video, I have a feeling you're going to understand why. And also Richie Torres, Democratic hopeful in New York's governor race, makes an ass out of himself, makes a genuine ass out of himself. Before we get to that, guys, head on over to LFATV.us. That's LFATV.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFATV related. Check out the LFATV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at LFATV. That's how we keep the lights on over here. Cajun Lady says, dang, Kevin is triggering some. Yeah, damn right I am. That's what I do. Guys, make sure you repost the video wherever it is you're watching from. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. Turn on all your notifications for all of the updates. So let's start out with Richie Torres. Richie Torres is in a great deal of trouble. So for those of you who don't know, Richie Torres represents the poorest congressional district in America, in the Bronx. It is per capita the poorest district imaginable. It really, just by the numbers, it is. And he is facing a serious primary challenge from his left, from the Zoran Mamdani crowd. Now, Zoran Mamdani won Richie Torres' district, walking away. So he has plans to primary Governor Kathy Hochul in 2026. And I hope that he does. I really do. I would really love to see Governor Hochul get primary because she absolutely sucks. Well, last week on the show, we showed you a video of him talking to Scott Jennings on CNN about illegals getting free health care in America. And Richie Torres did not like that at all. As a matter of fact, he said it was a lie. So much so that he had to go on and make his own supercut showing you the lie.
Should we be surprised that a
Newsflash, undocumented immigrants are not enrolled in Medicaid. Yet, when I told this inconvenient truth to Scott Jennings on CNN, he literally lost his mind.
To keep illegal aliens from getting welfare benefits they shouldn't be getting, to encourage people to go to work. I don't think these things should be shied away from by Republicans.
None of that is true. First of all, I think Medicaid
It's exactly true. It's exactly what's in the bill.
Federal law prohibits undocumented immigrants
Then why are
from receiving Medicaid benefits.
on it? Why are
That's a figment of your
million?
imagination.
It's a figment of the CBO's documents.
Let me explain the facts.
It's in the CBO documents.
I'll explain the facts.
Is it or not?
Let me explain. It's not, actually.
No, you are lying.
No, that is not. It is not true.
Okay, hang on a
You're
second.
inventing facts out of thin air.
All right.
So, are 1.4 million illegals enrolled in federally funded Medicaid? No. Scott is misinterpreting a CBO report that says 1.4 million people will lose their state-funded health care. The operative word here, state-funded.
Federal law prohibits undocumented people from getting Medicaid. That is the law.
But they're on it.
Okay, not the federally funded part of Medicaid. States have their own funding mechanisms, and some of them have chosen to expand it.
Notice Republicans are punishing states for exercising their state rights.
Well,
Whatever happened?
Somebody should tell Richie Torres that he may want to call the Chicago Tribune, who last week put out this story. In Illinois, adult immigrants without legal status have lost their health care. Well, that's odd. Well, how could that be? How could illegal immigrants lose health care that they weren't getting in the first? Oh, right. Richie Torres is a dumbass and doesn't really look things up before he says them out loud. That's probably why he's one of the liberal pundits on CNN. It's probably also why he's facing a primary from a communist from his radical left. But Richie Torres doesn't know any of those things. I would love to read you that article, but I am not wasting my money paying for the Chicago Tribune. Chicago Tribune, a well-reputable source right there. A well-reputable source. Another well-reputable source about the amount of waste that's going on in this government comes from the vice president in 2028, Lee the Legend Zeldin, who continues to save us more and more money at the EPA because he's doing his damnedest to expose how Joe Biden and his administration funneled money out the door as they were leaving. Well, luckily, Lee Zeldin has clawed back a large portion of that money.
When I came in, our staff size was over 16,000. That number is in the process of going down to 12,500. That right there is a savings of about $750 million. I was just talking about the $22 billion that I canceled in grants. We're saving $18 million a year in a real estate consolidation, removing personnel from the Reagan building, just by canceling certain media contracts that we have or closing down an EPA museum that no one visited. We are continuing to find efficiencies, and everything that I just described, all of that stuff goes away. We are still able to fulfill our statutory obligations in the power of the great American comeback. We will do everything in our power to deliver clean air, land, and water for all Americans, while also being cognizant to what the Trump mandate is. And last November, voters said that they want an agency like EPA to be cognizant of their economic concerns as well and to apply common sense. That means we'll help unleash energy dominance, advance cooperative federalism, pursue permitting reform, help make America the AI capital of the world, and bring back American auto jobs while we are at it. We will both protect the environment and grow the economy. We choose both. It's not a binary choice.
That's my friend. That's my friend. And I think the next vice president of the United States, I'll say it here, maybe I'll put up a damn sign like I did last time right in the back there. But first off, I got a question. I'm going to ask Lee to come on and talk about this. What the hell is an EPA museum? Who went to that? Who was like, honey, we're going to Washington, D.C. What do you want to see? Do you want to go to the Capitol? Do you want to go to the White House, the Lincoln Memorial? Do you want to go to the Washington Monument? Do you want to go there? What do you want to do? You know what I want to do? I want to go to the EPA museum. What could even be in there? Like that time we saved, like, I don't know, the piping plover? What the sweet hell could be in the EPA? I gotta know. Now that it's shut down, maybe we can get some relics from it. I don't know. I have to know what the hell was in the EPA museum. Guys, we got about 5 minutes left of the 2-hour show today. Once again, Will Johnson will be back tomorrow. So I do want to thank everybody for keeping it locked, keeping it loaded here today. Make sure you guys are hitting the thumbs up button. Let's pop the live chat up on the screen. Hope everybody enjoyed 2 hours of me today. That was a lot of fun. Apparently Russell Finley didn't really like it, but who really cares? Who cares? I like letting my trolls know that I'm thinking about them. It's a good time. It's an absolute good time. Guys, once again, as we keep rocking and rolling here, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on. Plus, I've got to pay for this Nashville trip, so I would really appreciate you guys hitting that donate button right at the very top I really do appreciate that. All the support you guys give the show. Consider becoming a monthly donor over there or on my Rumble Rants or anywhere you see fit. I do really appreciate that. Sonia Smith, we love you, Kevin. Who gives? Yep, yeah, that's right. Who cares? Who cares? Cajun Lady, what's up? Miss Sexy USA. Oh, look at that. In my Rumble chat, I'm liking it. I am liking it. Make sure you guys keep it locked in here for the Hannah Faulkner Show coming up next. The most based teenager in America. I think that is a safe bet. But before we get out of here today, I got to talk about a terrible story out of Cincinnati, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say because I was never really interested in Cincinnati in the first place. Well, there was a jazz festival in Cincinnati. And I'm going to play the clip. It's about 2 minutes long. It's pretty graphic. And see if you guys can figure out why this story is not getting mainstream attention.
Newsflash.
Sorry. Too much Richie Torres. Tell me why. Tell me if you can figure out why. I can't put my finger on it on why this isn't on cable news. I can't figure out why why David Muir won't talk about this tonight on ABC News Tonight. I can't figure out why. Oh, that's right. Because nobody gives a shit when two white people get jumped by a gaggle of black people in Cincinnati. But if that girl had been laying on the street bleeding out of her mouth and she had been black, Al Sharpton and Benjamin Crump and Jesse Jackson's half-dead ass would have been out in the streets burning shit down. Rah, rah, rah. But because it's the other way around, nobody cares. Nobody cares. I bet that's the first time you saw that video. That happened over the weekend. And do you know what's going to happen? Nothing. Nothing will happen. The guy that knocked that chick out and had her bleeding out of her mouth, nothing will happen to him because he's a gangster. He's a real tough guy. Oh, yeah. Sure, he had his pants halfway around his ass. He had to get home, though. The baby mamas were waiting. But hey, just me and my privilege, right? Guys, Hannah Faulkner's coming up next. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. She should be coming up in just a second. Jeremy had it. Yeah, of course. We have it. Yeah, we have it on. Can't figure out why. It's a shame, you know. We can't sometimes. What a coinky dink. Can't really figure out why. Alrighty, guys. Hannah Faulkner is going to be coming on in 1 minute. Just got that text. She'll be coming on in 1 second. Once again, guys, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you're sharing the video out all over the place. Once again, I want to thank Ali Leger and Kelsey McSorley for coming on the show today. I could talk to them all day. I could talk to them all day, all night if I had the time. Let me get a sip real quick. Yeah, that's what you saw it here. I showed it. Jeremy showed it. All alternative media is showing it, but of course, that upsets the narrative. So you're not going to see it on any of the other cable networks. Maybe you'll see it on Fox. I'll roll the dice and say you'll see it on Newsmax. So if you are one of the people right now, they got the what the hell's going on in the weather? Fox Now is showing the weather. Apparently, it's hot as hell all over the country, guys. Did you know this? I don't know if you know this or not, but in July, it gets really hot places. It won't. Alrighty. Looks like we're going to keep it locked in here for a little bit longer. Looks like we're going to keep it locked here a little bit longer. Do I have a couple more things I can talk about? Yeah, I do. You're damn right I do. So, let's see, real quick. Apparently, Hannah is having connection issues, so you're going to keep it locked with me for a little bit longer. So you're going to keep it locked here a little bit longer. Let's get to this DOJ story that I didn't get to. Apparently, the FBI and the DOJ, and this is one of the things I want to highlight because people like Pam Bondi and Cash and all that, they've been getting a lot of crap over the last couple of days. And I want to make sure that they get the due that they deserve. Over the last couple of days, they arrested the ringleaders of a dark web child porn exploitation network with over 120,000 users. 120,000 people were on this damn website. And the DOJ has announced the results of something they call Operation Grayskull, which is a sweeping joint investigation that somebody just let me know when it's time to go, and I'll be good. With the FBI that dismantled 4 dark web sites dedicated to the exploitation of children. The operation has so far resulted in 18 convictions across multiple federal districts, significant sentences for offenders involved with the distribution of it. One of the most notable sentences came last week for Thomas Peter Katzams, 52, of Minnesota, who was sentenced to only 250 months in prison. I got to be honest with you, that it's not really enough. That's not really enough. Not even in the slightest bit. Not even in the slightest bit do I think that's enough. But there were multiple arrests. One guy who got 28 years, another guy who got 21 years, 23 years, 25 years. Another got life in prison, 42 years. I say we just string all these people up. An additional 9 individuals were convicted in other federal districts. Chris Hand in Aberdeen, Maryland got 14 years. Michael Ibarra got 12 years. Clay Trimble, 18 years. So this was a wide-sweeping investigation. 2 other individuals died before they could be charged. Arrests, you ready for this? Arrests were also made in this ridiculous child exploitation operation in the UK, the Netherlands, Italy, France, Estonia, Belgium, and South Africa. So the DOJ was able to connect this ridiculous website with these animals on it all the way to South Africa. Operation Greystone was led by the DOJ's Child Exploitation and Obscenities Section and the FBI's Child Exploitation Operational Unit with support from multiple U.S. Attorney General's offices and international partners. The investigation is part of the Project Safe Childhood, the DOJ initiative that was launched in 2006 to combat online child exploitation. Are we up? Is everything going well here? Alrighty, guys, I think... Alrighty, let's see here. I think we're getting another connection coming in. We shall see. Somebody let me know something. Let's see. Alrighty, well, we're going to keep waiting for that. Apparently, look, this is what happens. This is what happens when you do it live. This is what happens when you do it live. What also I think is funny is that, of course, because it's a day ending in Y, when we look into New York City, of course, the Gaza protesters have to be out in force, and they have to be out setting things ablaze and throwing things at police officers. Here's film from Alia Scootercaster over at freedomnews.tv.
Kids are dying. Kids are dying. That's why we're here. The kids are dying. Why is that so hard to understand?
Border now! Open up your border now! We want justice, you say how? We want justice, you say how? Open up your border now! Open up your border now! We want justice, you say how? We want justice!
We will be here today.
We will be here today!
We will be here tomorrow.
We will be here tomorrow!
Just as you made the lives of residents hell,
You made the lives of hell!
we will make your lives
We will make your lives
hell.
hell!
And that's a promise. Bang your pots loud.
Stop Cop City. I'm not really sure where the hell there's a Cop City, except for the fact that there's, cops in every city. Guys, once again, we're working on some tech stuff right now. Hannah's show is a little bit delayed. But there's a story from last week. That didn't really get enough attention, and I want to have somebody come on and talk about it because they had to live this firsthand, unfortunately. Last week, the International Olympic Committee banned transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. Now, obviously, that's a big deal with the Olympics coming up here in Los Angeles over the next couple of years. And obviously, Los Angeles, as liberal as it gets. Obviously, it's as liberal as it gets. So I'm going to show you guys, in case you missed it, a video of my friend Paula Scanlon, who unfortunately had to live through this while she was a student at the University of Pennsylvania with Leah Thomas in her locker room. Obviously, Riley Gaines and Caitlin Wheeler and all them, they got a lot of attention because of what happened at the NCAA finals. But Paula Scanlon, who is a really good friend of mine and works for Scott Pressler's Early Vote Action, she had to live with this every single day in the locker room. Here's Paula. Alrighty, guys, we are back. I'm super excited to introduce you guys to my next guest. She is a former University of Pennsylvania swimmer and currently working with Scott Pressler's Early Vote Action. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. We're going to be talking about Trump threatening to pull funding from the University of Pennsylvania, the men and women sports stuff, which apparently the Democrats just simply cannot get away from, and New Jersey, the big story in 2025. Everybody please say hello to my friend Paula Scanlon. Paula, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So, I've been wanting to have you on for a while. Obviously, the big story that Democrats simply cannot get away from, despite all polling and reality telling them that they should probably get away from it, is the men and women sports fiasco that they are trying to pretend is not the biggest losing issue, maybe in the history of politics. Obviously, you have a unique story when it comes to that at the University of Pennsylvania. Why don't you let everybody know what that was? Because this is something that I've tried to explain to people, and it's hard for me to even, I feel like I'm explaining to, geniuses what 2 + 2 is. The fact that we even have to talk about this right now is shocking. But tell everybody about what college was like for you.
I mean, it's shocking for me to have to explain too. It's shocking for even my parents. I remember when it first started to happen, I would tell my parents and I'd call them on the phone, and my dad legitimately told me on the phone, "You are being dramatic and trying to rile me up. Stop it."
Alrighty, guys, we got Hannah. What the hell? Alrighty, guys, we got Hannah Faulkner fixed up and ready to go. Thank God we got that fixed. Guys, we'll play that show later in the week so we can talk about it later on. Guys,